Should be live on air. There's a little bit of time delay, so we'll make sure everything came up okay. Hello, everyone. It's Jesse Bergman. I'm back here today with
Neil, as always, and for the first time.
Well, first time verbally. I'm usually on the other side of the camera.
That's right.
This is John Kimmel, just watching your guys play games on Tabletop Simulator. But tonight is special. We're going to be opening up new stuff.
Yeah, and we got them all laid out there in all our shiny glory. So what is this that we're looking at, John? What do we got here?
So internally, we've been looking at how do we do a few things new. And one of the things that we wanted to do was we had a very positive reaction to our full art cards in various events. And we decided to go ahead and create a full art booster pack. But they're cosmetic packs. They're full art. We've talked about this a little bit in our social media channels in the last month or so. But what this does for us, not only does it give an opportunity to do something new, where we have a full art experience for anyone, not just for people that maybe show up to tournaments, but it also kind of addresses people that want to have like a different look to their game playing experience in the digital space. That's a thing. So we're trying to do something new and unique in the physical space and create an alternate art version, but not really alternate art yet, just full art.
Yeah.
And then the other cool aspect of it, mechanically speaking, is players like to draft as a tournament or just a play style, right? So this allows us to explore a more traditional draft format where players can draft from these packs, which is pretty exciting too.
Yeah. So Neil, talk a little bit about like you helped design the set in terms of determining rarity, because Battle for Sularia is not a randomized game, and so we really hadn't, in a way, considered real rarity in randomization. So we came to you and said, hey, how would we design the Battle Begins and then Blood, Profit, and Glory, which we now call our starter set, into a random pack. So talk a little bit about what you did there and how it worked out.
Yeah, one of the very first things that attracted me to this game when I started testing with you guys was that on the back of the box it tells you can do a cube draft, and that's still true from the Battle Begins box. You can shuffle up the whole big pile and do your cube draft from that. But what has always been my favorite part of collectible card games like Magic or Versus or Yu-Gi-Oh! Those ones that come packaged like this is the limited format sealed and draft. So it adds a different element to it when the packs are truly random. Like when we do a cube draft of just the Battle Begins set, some percentage of your pick decisions are based on knowing that like in that pile there's 4 copies of every card. Like if I see 2 Art of Wars go by, I'm not going to draft the next Art of War because I know that half of them are gone. Like my Jotun deck is worse because of that. And
right.
And those decisions are important for playing that format, but it's just not as fun as like actually being able to crack a pack and just have this comedy of riches that you don't see coming. Like for this set specifically, the rarities that we set up, I chose mostly for power level based on the drafts of Battle Begins that I had done with the full stack. And we want the cards that are game breaking to be rares or ultra rares, because you just don't want to see them as often.
Sure.
in the 8-man draft.
Yeah. Well, of course. Obviously, that you kind of touched on it a little bit. The opening of the packs and the excitement that comes with it, and just not knowing exactly how the pool of cards will come out in a draft format. And then, like John had mentioned, obviously the best part about it is after you're done draft, these cards aren't just wasted because they provide a new cosmetic upgrade to your existing Sularia decks.
Right.
So, I think those are all really powerful things when we start talking about these packs in particular. And what we're going to do tonight is something that I think all 3 of us sitting at this table are really excited about, which is crack the first 4 packs of Battle for Sularia. And I think we've talked about laying out the cards and like laying out the pack and saying what would be your pick. So all of us kind of talking about what would be our pick of the pack in that respect, and kind of discussing that back and forth, which might give you a little insight into drafting strategies for Sularia. And then, what from there, we'll kind of also do our best to showcase all of the artwork on the cards in full art glory, because many of these cards have never seen full art treatment before this. And, we really don't know what's going to happen either, quite exactly, because quite literally, we've never opened any packs yet. So we hope that the printer's randomization process and everything went the way we wanted to. So these are pre-production prototypes, which means that there is a chance that we might have to do some discussions with our printer to get things sorted out if it doesn't work, and we'll go from there. So we're a little bit in unknown territory for us as well tonight. But I'm still super excited about it. I think you guys are as well. Why don't we just get started? I mean, some things we should crack a pack, or what do you want to do here?
The one question I have for both of you before we crack the first one is specifically when you guys designed Sularia 6 years ago, it was supposed to be packaged this way, right?
Yeah.
Supposed to be a random packaged collectible card game like Magic or any of the ones we've discussed. And now it is.
Yeah.
So what does that feel like for you guys? You
want to take that one first, John?
I mean, that's a great question, but it's tricky because on one hand, we did design it to be a randomized card game, collectible card game. And then fast forward multiple discussions with different printers, come to the conclusion that it had to be an expandable card game, and purely economic reasons. But then the more we adopted that mindset of this could still be very cool as an expandable card game, and we did have at the time some baked in what we thought was rarity, but then given the opportunity of seeing how the game drafts out over the last couple years, etc., some of that Neil obviously addressed and changed up. So the rarity of this set's a little different than what we initially had in mind. But that being said, on one hand, I'm super excited to see it is an iteration of what we originally set out to do. But I also feel pretty strong about we have a pretty dedicated fan base that part of their real passion for this particular card game is the fact that it's not all randomized, that it is an expandable card game. So it's a tricky space. We had to think long and hard about, do we do a randomized pack? Will that be perceived as kind of like changing our course? And we would like to, we're not, just to be clear on that, we intend to continue to make our expandable card game offering. This is just a cosmetic option for players that want something different, like you said earlier, and something to do draft wise. That is, as Neil pointed out, a true draft format where you don't know what's going to be in that entire draft selection. Where when you draft from our core box, like Neil said, you know how many copies of individual cards are. In a traditional pack system like this, you have no idea. So that's the part that's exciting. So to answer your question, it's cool, but it's also I like where we landed on initially, ultimately too, as an expandable card game. I really like that, but I also the old school card game player in me really likes this new option too.
Right. Yeah, you really had a very mature answer to that there. The best thing about Sularia as a game is the way that it's presented. You get everything all at once, and it's not balanced by economy like Magic Cards kind of is. Yeah. But it is balanced by the construction cost economy when you're building decks, and all that still exists in these packs, and they're not required, but it's just from a sheer emotional standpoint, I'm super excited. So I can't imagine what it must be like for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, to John's point, I echo a lot of the same sentiments. When we set out originally many years ago with Sularia, it was wanting to be a trading card game. I mean, that's what we wanted to make it. And whether or not we had rarity right when we were doing our initial testing and some of those things, you can't possibly know that until you get far enough and deep enough into testing. And so what I do think is really great about this particular set is we had a lot of data to understand what real rarity was going to be. We had tournament data, we had 2 national championships, we had a lot of stuff that really helped us go, boy, maybe this is a card that we would have made less rare before Solaria was ever released, but then looking at it, with data and with player data in particular, we were able to make really good determinations that this is probably a better card in draft as a rare card, or the fabled ultra rare card. So I do like that we got to that point through all of this process. And the other side of me is 100% with John too. Like, I like Battle for Solaria as an expandable card game. I love the just the ability to build deck after deck after deck and try different things. And that's a lot harder to do in a trading card game unless you just have, a nearly infinite amount of money for the economy. So, that part of things too, I agree. I mean, it's great to see this, but I agree with John, and we need to re-echo that. There is no way we're going to go away from that with this process. So just to be, clear to people watching the stream or catching the video later on YouTube, this is just simply, an add-on to enhance their game or to offer a different way to play the game. And those are the two outlets for it. And that's the way they will be forever. So let's, it's a great question. So, but I think everybody who is on stream tonight and anybody who is watching this later, they're ready to see some packs get open. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to pull 3 of the packs out of the way. I'm just going to grab those out of the way for now. John, do you want the honors of breaking the first pack?
Woo! Sure, Jesse. Right. Is this in frame?
Yeah, you're fine. You can open the pack off frame if you need to, and then lay the cards out if that's easier for you.
That was simple. Yeah, let me do that.
Okay. Instead of trying to reach across equipment and everything else.
All right, so just so we can see that I actually am opening the pack I started on. Here come all 16 oath keys.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. All right.
The top is a Organa.
Are they printed with the rares on top?
I don't know.
It's supposed to be randomized.
We don't have no idea yet.
You think I would remember if it was a rare or not?
Yeah.
Since I made the list.
So we had the Vasad Saboteur, second in the pack. Little perimeter alert system. Got an evasion in this pack too.
The perimeter alert system will excite those Kansas City fans.
That's right. Prototype development base. There you go, Dustin Rogers. Perimeter alert system for you. Sword of Rothgar. We got a Hydra Reaver, which we'll talk a little bit about how this is early prototype stuff and how it's going to change a little bit in the future. We got Solarian Flares.
That's a super rare card now.
Yeah. Strength in Numbers. Watchtower. Hey, we got both 1-drops in this pack. That's pretty good. Johnny Cash coming in hot.
Well, we know what card I'd have to draft on the first pack.
Storm Citadel.
And you would be very correct to do so.
Yeah. System Scramble. Defense Override. Solarian Mining Station. Sorry, it just was at a funny angle. I was having a hard time seeing it. And then we have the Solarium Excavator. So that's the first 16. So let's lay those out if we can.
Are there no ultra rares? Did I see that right?
I don't think there was in that pack. I think
because we color coded these icons for our viewers at home. White is common, yellow is uncommon, red is rare, and purple is ultra rare. But I'm not seeing.
Well, if we cracked our first pack to an ultra rare, I might have some real concerns about how the actual distribution system is working. But I feel pretty good. Like, we hit double rare, which is what we're supposed to do. We got our 2 rares in this pack would have been the Organa and the Johnny Cash. The uncommons in the pack were the silvers. We have to break those down, I think, but we got prototype development base.
The gold, right?
Gold. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you're right.
So we had the sword. I'll get these off camera here.
Yep, sword came out.
And Saboteur.
Hydra Reavers there.
Hydra Reaver was a uncommon.
And then Johnny's the rare. You got the Storm Citadel. Should be one more, right?
Well, so we have.
No, this is right.
It's right.
Yep.
It's 5. You're right.
Yep.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Well, 4
4
uncommons.
2, 4, and then the rest of the commons. That's
Yep.
right. Yep. So.
And then I'll go ahead and put the rares back out.
That'll work.
Is that in frame there?
Yep. And then we can maybe fit.
And then the rest
of the commons out there too. and then we can start talking about making the pick, what we think would be the best pick card out of this pack. There's some good choices here that I think drafting Sularia would be hard to. I mean, I know everybody's going to want to go for Johnny, but you know, a stable resource base is so important.
Yeah, getting that many low costing sites in the first pack. If I were drafting, if this were my first pack, literally since it was my first pack I just opened, I would be torn on a personal note from Johnny and the threat he could present in the game.
Right.
But for my own drafting experiences, I tend to draft out low costing in our game sites.
Yeah. Yeah, because unlike, you know, other games where maybe your mana or your resource base or whatever you want to call it is fixed, Solaria, your resources are your sites. So I mean, like it does become important to draft sites, and you know that prototype development base sitting there is pretty enticing at 3, making 2 Solarium. You know, same for the excavator in a certain way, just because of the resource fixing the excavator can provide. But what about you, Neil? Like your first pick, you know, is it automatically Johnny in this pack?
Oh yeah, I would windmill slam Johnny. He's so good.
Okay.
He's better in draft than he is in
constructed,
because his CC cost is not a downside.
Correct.
And like we know that both teams, Jotun and Sentient, both make 4 Solarium pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
I would windmill slam the Johnny. Now, if this was not my first pick and somebody had first picked the Johnny and passed me this pack, then I would have decisions. I agree with you. I think Prototype Development Base is an excellent card, and it's way up my list of draft picks, just because there are not very many sites to make 2.
Yeah,
and
I mean it's a reasonably early enough site. I mean, draft is going to play longer anyways, right? You're not going to see the normal, you know, 6-7 round of gameplay you find in constructed. You're going to get more into that 8-9 range, you know, pretty easily. A lot of that does depend on the pods and how strong each deck comes out, but you know, a 3-drop site is more than playable in any format, and it's especially more than playable in the upside you're going to get off prototype late into the game. You know, having that resource producer.
The other honorable mentions are the 1-drop sites. I think that because they're common, you're going to see a lot of them.
Sure.
Just like all the 1-drop sites are very powerful, and when you have a 40-card deck and you have like 6 perimeters or watchtowers in your deck, you know, your curve of like turn 1 site, turn 2 site is very common.
Yep.
And that's just a very powerful start. Like we're almost to my Johnny already by doing that.
Right.
So
you're Johnny.
Well,
it's John's if he takes
it's already mine.
That's true. Like I said, if I didn't open this pack, I would take prototype, assuming that Johnny is gone. The other honorable mentions for me would be either 1-drop site or the Facade Saboteur.
Yeah, Saboteur is a really good versatile card in this format, just because you can pair up, you know, high Solarium, you know, sites from the Sentient to really enable him.
Yeah, cards like Prototype Development.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's a good 2/2 for 2. So even if you don't get the value out of the ability game after game, you've got a good reasonable threat coming onto the board. You know, I mean, like assuming that you took the prototype and John took Johnny, I would have to go for one of the 1-drop sites, and it, you know, they're equal in draft, right? Whether you buy the perimeter or buy the watchtower, it doesn't make any real difference there.
I personally prefer watchtower, just because of Spoils of War.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, if we do see a spoils come into one of these other packs, watchtower would have a better position versus like a master mining.
It's only like 5% better than perimeter alert.
Yeah, that's it's really a small margin. And I could see this pack really quickly running out of Evasion, Facade Saboteur, the Sword of Rothgar. I think those are really solid card choices as well.
So something fun, I think. Let's do that. I'm going to take Johnny. Neil, what would you take?
I would take prototype.
Prototype, okay. And then Jesse.
I'll take the watchtower. We'll go with Neil's 5% argument.
And then we'll collapse this here and maybe Neil can open up the second pack.
Yeah.
And then he can do his first pick. You do second.
That sounds like a good plan. So Neil, you get second honors here.
Well, if we're keeping the pick, I would have picked that Hydra Reaper because it's gonna be
While Neil's
While Neil's
opening that pack, we'll
yeah.
talk about this. So we in-house, we think all of our artists are really strong overall. I mean, that's why we chose the artists we chose. But we've had some community feedback, of course, and over the course of time, there's maybe a few pieces that had alternate art, and of those alternate art pieces, there's a strong likelihood that every card that has alternate art in our current game, between the Battle Begins and Blood, Profit, and Glory, the new what's considered the starter set, the alternate art will be what is the final art for the full art booster pack.
That's right. So if you've seen
in this example, the reason why we're joking about this, while this is a very cool image, there's an alternate art Hydra Reaver, and that's the one that will be
ultimately is the final piece. So if you played in any of organized play, maybe found us at a convention, bought your game from us at a convention, you might have gotten a copy of the alt art Hydra Reaver in standard card format. So now we're just making sure that all of the full art cards here are that. So Neil's got his pack open though, so we're going to go ahead and start laying this thing out.
I sorted them. So here's the comments.
All right.
There's a mining station, another perimeter alert, a Sheila Rothgar, strength in numbers, Spartan Terminator, Hero's Boon, Red Condor, Hades Slam Crawler, Forge, and System Scramble are the
second System Scramble. So we got second perimeter alert, second System Scramble, second strength in numbers. But
everything else
is new. So let's take a look at those uncommons and see what we get.
So in the uncommon slot, we have a Catacombs.
Move those down slightly.
Am I above the frame?
Yeah, just keep it above his spike on his head, and you'll be all right.
Okay, so we got a Catacombs and a Skyhawk and a From Whence.
Good cards.
Yeah, and another Storm.
Second Storm. Okay.
And then the rares, a Bullthorn and a Novum.
Ooh.
Nice, two different ones too.
And they are some doozies. So Neil, you got first pick of this pack. So what would be your first pick?
And why?
And why? Yeah. Knowing you picked up the prototype development base last pack.
Honestly, this is like, I don't know. This pack is underwhelming because I didn't open a Johnny, but it's like I would pick the Novum. I think he's just like a solid guy. Because he's a Type 1, his stats are inflated, and he makes a Solarium, and his drawback is not real in draft because you don't see him much in constructed because of the 3 construction costs. But he's just like a solid all around guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty good chance if you're looking at this, if you're playing in a 4-player pod, obviously that's going to affect whether the cards come back around to you or not. But there's a pretty good chance in this pack that even that Catacombs comes back around to you.
And he's sweet looking.
And Novum makes you get to 7, so which is all you need for that Catacombs to be a real thing. And we've seen Catacombs be a very powerful card in draft and in cube draft format. So, boy, it's interesting you took Nova. I actually almost expected you to take the Warlord. So when it's my pick here as the second pick, like Warlord is such a powerful card in draft. I'm concerned how I'm going to get him out. That's a real thing.
Right. But that's the big argument for Novum over it. I think is that like Novum is always like a good early play.
Yeah,
you're always going to make 3, and he's just going to like stabilize you real nice.
Forge is a huge top performer too, which is interesting that I'd be looking at a common card maybe overtaking the rare here. But Skyhawk's a solid contender. There's some really good card choices here. There's a lot of cards that are on. They're the kind of cards that kind of set almost like what you intend to draft for the rest of the game with these choices.
I mean, I want to take this Novum and like knowing that I get 2 cards out of this pack, assuming that it's an 8-person draft. Like I want to table like the perimeter alert system. I think that probably won't happen, but it's very possible I table the Hero's Boon because Hero's Boon, even though being stellar and constructed, is a lot more difficult to turn on in this format. As you see, the only Type 1s we've opened have been rares.
Yep.
That's not the only ones, but for the most part, Hero's Boon doesn't really have a target that's a reasonable open. Like you can't take it and expect to get a Type 1.
Right. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna cross my fingers that I'm going to get some Solarian producers, and maybe I pulled off that excavator because nobody wanted it last pack. But hard to say. But I think I'm gonna pull the Warlord. I'm gonna pull the both on Warlord.
I think that's a very solid pick.
Yeah,
it's definitely the best guy in the pack.
Yeah, this is a tough call because the safe play is take a low costing site and probably take perimeter alert system in this pack. But truth be told, part of me wants to either take Spartan Terminator simply so no one can have something that would kill my Johnny back if I smack him with Johnny. That's a thing I think about. Also, it's just a good meaty combatant. But oddly enough, my initial reaction, if I were to see this pack come back, I would be inclined. I actually would want to take that Hero's Boon.
Well, you got the Johnny to support.
That's why, because I have a Type 1, and sometimes I pick cards I just don't want other people to have. I don't want them to ramp on me, so I would probably take that card and hope to God I get some sites later on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do the thing like my gut reaction would say take the Hero's Boon.
Okay. I think that's a good, solid choice. I don't think that's a bad choice at all. I mean, there were a lot of cards that were on a very similar level.
Yeah, they were. I would say a lot of cards on the bubble for me because I also like From Whence Thou Came.
Yep.
And so if I had my top three were probably Hero's Boon, Whence, and the Preliminary Alert. The Spartan was maybe after that, and then I don't know, whatever came back around.
The Spartan and the Skyhawk both are just like very good guys.
Yep.
Like they're just big guys. And in this format specifically, where you get a lot of cheap sites, and like I was saying, you get a 40 card deck with 5 or 6 1-drop sites, like you get to 4 or 5 real consistently. And so the cards that are in that range 4 and 5 that just attack well are very good. And I probably would have taken Perimeter Alert in your spot, but Hero's Boon is a fine card too, and it certainly has way more upside than Perimeter Alert. Perimeter Alert is like the safe pick. Hero's Boon is like the go crazy pick, because if you hit in the next open, you're just
that's
to
right.
the moon.
Yeah, because John gets to open the next pack, so if he gets a good solid starting card here, Hero's Boon may just be right on the money for him. Yeah, I mean, for me, the second pick with Hero's Boon out of the mix. You have to assume maybe that the Condor comes back to you at that point. Maybe the Sword or Shield of Hrothgar comes back to you, and both of those are pretty good. But they're going to push me to drive for trying to pick up like those Storm Citadels, things like that, to try to boost them higher, because we're not going to see the consistency of 4 Art of Wars in the deck, right? So,
and Storm Citadel specifically is a very powerful card we've seen in both packs. But it's not like a card you want to first pick,
right?
Because it only is turned on half the guys.
That's right.
And
a little more than half, but because there are more Jotun combatants than Cynthian. But yeah, there's definitely less targets for it in this format. But I have lived, breathed, and died in draft off of Storm Citadels on a single big threat.
Oh yeah, I mean, if this pack came back around to you, Jesse, after taking Bullthorn, and you had one Jotun guy from the previous pack, like Citadel becomes very attractive.
That's right. Yep, I agree. All right, so I guess I get first pick now.
Yeah, it's actually
All right, so I'm going to open up another pack here. While we're doing this, what do you guys think? I mean, first initial responses, looks at things after opening 2 packs.
The printing looks pretty good. I'm impressed with we're cool with talking about where we got these from, right? maybe not. All right.
Not super.
Well, all right. So it's not super secret, but it's something we'll address later on. But it's a print-on-demand service, right?
Yep.
So that being said, part of the reason why we went, again, I talked about the economics of not doing a randomized format when we first started Battle for Sularia. But had this option existed 5 years ago, it would have been it would have made our decision much more difficult, because this is a pretty slick service. It's print on demand. It's randomized, and the quality is decent.
Yeah, no, they're
very glossy, but
they
look good though.
Yeah, yep. I do like them a lot. And the type font is very clean. And you'll notice one other thing about these, if you're familiar with the original base set of Solaria, we removed the helper text. So the only text remaining on the cards is the ability text and then the flavor text.
Yeah.
So, the first card we're going to show here again is another red condor. But, if we do see like the Skyhawks come up, or not Skyhawks, but the Cloud Falcons come up, or some of those other cards that had helper text, if you're wondering why that's not there, that was a conscious decision we made. So
we think that you're probably smart enough by the time that you're buying these packs for your decks that
we hope so.
You know what flight is.
So I picked up a red condor as a common, another Watchtower, so that's a third 1-drop site, a Gray Harrier, a Forge, a Defense Override, another Solarium Flare, second Solarium Flare, a Perimeter Alert, Hades Solarium Crawler, Solarium Excavator, another Hero's Boon.
Oh, yeah.
And so that covers the commons. So now our uncommons that come in, we've got an Interference, First Art of War to the table, a Master Mining Program to the table,
This pack's
a Hydra Reaver to the table, and then probably 2 very powerful rares here, boys.
Oh my gosh.
It's a Trap and the Mighty Centropolis.
Oh, this is a hard pack to pick from.
Yeah, you're telling me. I just took a Bullthorn last turn. So I'm really torn here. First pack pick, like there are easily 4 cards here that I want, like in a draft deck. Easily 4 cards, right? And they're not going to make it around. So it's a very difficult decision because I mean,
right, you're the only one that has a hard decision. Then John and I pick the other 2.
That's right. Yeah, there's at least 3 that are probably top tier. So the 3 top tier.
We're in agreement, right? It's these.
I'm thinking Master Mining Program.
All right, so
I was looking at those 4. I think Art of War is the weaker of the 4 here.
And the only reason is because it has the same problem as Storm Citadel, where it only is turned on half the guys.
That's right.
If you have a ton of Jotun guys in your deck, sure, slam it. It's great. If we're 1 pick in and you don't want to commit to Jotun right away, that's a card you can pass.
So Centropolis here, obviously it's a 4-drop site, very powerful ability. The specialist side isn't going to benefit me probably as much just because I have to get enough Cynthian guys to make that matter with specialists in particular.
Even more specific than just half the combatants.
That's right.
A third of half of the combatants.
Exactly. But the ability almost makes up for that. I mean,
it's
without a doubt.
It's nuts.
Because of the limited amount of evasions that are going to exist. But I really hate tossing a Master Mining Program when I've got a 6-drop combatant sitting in my draft pick from last pack. And that's
this is really hard.
Yeah, and I mean it's a trap's a whole nother ball game here, right? It's
arguably not a tier 1. It's 1.5 in comparison to these are the.
I think those are at least the 2 top picks here. I mean, I would love some insight from you guys. And hey, Jasper Birch is on with us. And what's up, Jasper? He says always draft 6 It's a Traps. Yeah, but 6 It's a Traps don't exist in this pod.
You open 6. Well,
it may be possible.
You might open 6 It's a Trap in a pod, but you wouldn't get them passed to you.
I'm gonna take what I think is probably the better card, but by such a narrow margin. I'm going to pick the Centropolis here. I think that's
probably my pick, actually.
I disagree. I would have taken Master Mining.
And those are the top two.
Yeah.
I mean,
because Jesse took that, I have to take this.
Yeah.
and then I will take the Trap. It's very academic at that point, but like you said, Centropolis and Master Mining are extremely.
You're taking it
similar.
Trap?
Yeah.
That's all part of my plan because I want to get that Hero's Boon.
Well, it comes back around to me now.
But
well, now you're gonna get the Art of War.
If I was gonna play this format competitively, I don't think I would pass either of the free Solarium makers.
Yeah.
I would take Spoils of War as well over Centropolis, and
I could understand that. So
it's possible that that's wrong because I haven't played the format of this where there may not be a Centropolis in draft. Or I may not have the tools to combat Centropolis, but at least in Battle Begins plus Blood Prophet and Glory draft the old way, I would always take Spoils or Master Mining essentially over everything.
Yeah, so here was my thought process and my decision point, and whether or not it's right or wrong, like you said, I wouldn't know until I had done some number of games to make that decision, right or wrong. But I looked at Centropolis and I went, it makes 2 Solarium. Mastermind is making 2 Solarium. I get the added value of the benefits, so I'm really not. I'm trading off a little bit of speed or tempo, and I'm not sure how fast the format's going to be. So
Right.
that was my big.
The biggest difference between Centropolis and Masterminding from like a purely deck building perspective is that like Centropolis is like the more stable, safe pick. Essentially, anytime you draw it after turn 3, it'll be good. Masterminding program is just so explosive. Like it's good turn 2 forward, right?
Yeah.
Like it's.
No, I agree. I mean, it was a tough call because, I think some element of control could play very favorably with, knowing that there's not a bunch of evasions running around in your pods, and they can show up, right? We saw one in pack 1, but
right. It's very possible if I have a deck full of Spartan Terminators and Skyhawks that we talked about that you just get me with your double removal spell that I can't ever attack.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that is a possibility. So I don't know. I mean, again, I took the slower of the 2 choices, but I already drafted a 6-drop combatant as a choice, so I kind of already am playing that slower game. Maybe I just take what I think is the most powerful choice to play in the slower game. But I agree, it's tough. So this was a very powerful pack, obviously. Like this is this is
what you want are packs like John opened, where it's like very easy to make the correct choice.
Right. Yeah, I had to get the hard pack.
I think this was the hardest one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So we got one more pack to open. It's about 7:40, so we got some time. We can do that. You're watching us drafting the first ever random packs of Battle for Sularia. The battle begins. Answering a few questions on that for those of you that maybe are catching later into this. Jasper says cards are looking great. We'll definitely have to get a hold of some of those. Great, man. We definitely, that's what we're hoping is everybody wants these, and
they do look just awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to outfit my decks with them, and play with them, and I can't wait to see other users have them as well. So obviously, while John is opening the next pack, just a few details on the packs. We haven't announced the MSRP on the packs yet, although we are working very, very hard to get an MSRP put together in the next few weeks to announce that. The packs will be available for purchase August 1st. We will not be doing pre-orders on these, so they are going to be a little limited in their early production runs. So what I would tell you is be ready August 1st to place your orders, and understand that what we hope is we'll sell out. There's not going to be hundreds of thousands of packs. We're not wizards. We're not able to produce that much product. We will place reorders after the initial sellout of the packs, and so that will keep them a little limited for a while. And we'll be doing a bunch more stuff over the next few months, specifically related to these packs and showing these packs in more of a gameplay state.
And how many cards are there per pack, Jesse?
16 cards per pack. I got that right?
Yeah.
That's a pop quiz.
Well, no, I think, like we make the example of Magic every now and then. They're like a 15-card pack.
Right.
And usually
one of them's
a land with a trash card.
And usually one
promo card that is a trash card.
Right. So,
and our packs have 2 rares in them. That's also very unique.
That's right. Chance, there is the infamous unicorn pack out there that could be double mythic. It is out there. It is possible.
Each rare slot has a chance to be replaced with a ultra rare.
Right.
And so there is like just the miracle pack that has double ultra rares.
That's right. Now watch us open it right here.
I mean, I like to see one.
I know. I would like to see an ultra rare come in, but in 4 packs, it might be a little hard.
Odds are not in our favor in 4 packs.
Yeah. So we'll be doing a little bit of different things for buying packs in bulk too. So if you're interested in looking at bulk packs, we'll be talking about those in the next few weeks. So
I won't get super fancy about organizing these just yet, but strength in numbers. Shield of Rothgar.
Yep.
This pack looks a little familiar so far.
Oh.
Second Masterminding.
And a new card we haven't seen yet.
Projectus,
a new rare.
Yep.
Projectus.
Development base.
Another
Skyhawk,
difficult
new
one to
card, yeah.
choose from.
Yeah, it's got
Spoils of
the
War.
spoils and the masterminding.
Yeah.
Second, it's a trap.
It's a trap. Cloud Stronghold. Haven't seen that one yet.
New one.
Watchtower. Another Flares. And Evasion. Wow, that's a tough pack too, John.
No.
So there's like somebody at our draft pod that has like 6 flares and
I know, right?
25 system scrambles.
Yeah, like the world might be the world might just be burning at that point. Didn't see any of the other direct damage in these 4 packs, but you never know what comes out of the other packs for other folks. So that's the beauty of it.
I feel like if I don't take the other masterminding or the spoils of war, you guys will kill me. Or just like
I won't kill you. I'll
just
just be
be
happy that I get.
yeah, like John, you're such a noob. But I so much want to get this type 1 for a cost of 2.
You got the heroes being for it.
I know, it's so tough.
Yeah, Jesper, we have not publicly printed the list of rarities up to this point.
I think we'll definitely do that. Yeah, I don't think that it's going to be a big secret. To talk a little bit about the set, John's making his decision. There's 59 cards in the set.
I don't even have a site yet.
There's what did we decide? 4 ultra rares.
There are 4 ultra rares.
Yep. This is a real pop quiz because it's been a few months since we looked at all this.
Right. So there are 4 ultra rares. There are how many? You said 59 total.
I'd have to go back and look at that, Jasper. I think there's 12 rares. Does that sound right?
You got to give me a minute.
Okay.
Oh, I'll go ahead and pick. I'll just pick this.
He's got to take the mastermind.
I have to. I don't want to.
I'm going to take the spoils.
Neil's going to windmill slam the spoils.
I should take.
Oh my goodness! You guys are giving me fits now. I mean, I think It's a Trap's probably the best pick there. I just don't think that. I mean, if we're looking at power picks for first pack pick, which is a third for me, but first for this pack, It's a Trap's got to be number 1 on that list right now, I think. So
I would have to have like 7 heroes boons in my pack already not to take It's a Trap there.
Well, you would, yeah, because you already got 1. So the second one just is like super consistency too. So and then it kind of comes around. I mean, that's
I guess I would have to go to that, but I'm going to need a site at some point.
Yeah, I managed to draft 2 sites so far in my choices. So
I got 3 resource
Projectus
producers.
is a fine pick here. I mean, I think Prototype is a little bit more powerful than Projectus.
I would agree that this would be, if I had to choose between these 2, I should be taking this one, but I'd want to take that one.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't take much Solarium though to get Projectus going. So even if you'd managed to pick up a couple of little sites, around the table as you went, as you got into your 6th and 7th
Projectus
card out of the pack,
has a similar upside to Art of War or Storm, like we were talking about. Like if you already have like a couple Terminators or a Hydra Reaver or whatever, the value of Projectus goes way up.
That's right.
At this point in the draft, where all you have is a Johnny and some masterminding programs
and a hero's boon. I'm just saying he's the perfect candidate for a hero's boon,
he
right?
really is.
He protects himself.
But we know there's at least 1 more hero's boon going on the table.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe, I mean, I would not be upset at you if you pick Projectus. I would be happy to pick Prototype.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, if you make one of those 2 picks, I will pick the other one before passing it to Jesse.
Right. Yeah.
If this were to continue.
Yeah.
And
kind of a little bit mismatched, anyways, picks wise, if we kept going around, just because to do 4 packs, each player would have to have 4 packs. So just us sitting here, we would actually have to have 12 packs to do this properly.
That's why we have not continued to pick past the first 3.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But
yeah, it would not be a legitimate draft. But to talk a little bit about the draft format and talk a little bit about how it goes. I mean, if you played regular Constructed Battle for Sularia, you're well familiar with the 60-90 system. That system gets thrown out the window for draft play. You get to play with a deck of 40 cards instead of 60. And so the number of sites you need, and the number of combatants you need and things like that changes based upon what would be considered normal ratios maybe in Constructed. Do you have any suggestions for players that maybe have never drafted, Neil, but would be taking a stab at their first drafts. I'm expecting maybe after this that some of the players that have never drafted with their base games are going to maybe break them out and start drafting with base games. So, let's talk a little bit about like some of that stuff.
Yeah, the draft format of starter set, the Battle Begins plus Public Glory, is actually a very fun format. Even when you know the distribution of the cards, like we talked about at the beginning of the stream here, I still would just pick spoils or masterminding over everything. From there, it's a little more hairy. Like I would just pick spoils over anything, and I would pick masterminding, or I would pick spoils over everything except masterminding, and pick masterminding over everything. And then from there, like some of the cards we've seen even are my favorite cards for limited.
For constructed, or for limited?
For the old style cube draft of Battle Begins. Johnny is way up the list of cards I think is really good. There's a lot of combatants. Like even if you look at the random packs we've looked at, we opened three shields, a Projectus, 2 Gray Harriers, like
a sword.
All of those things are like just fodder for Johnny. And this is a draft, so there's a lot less, especially in the Battle Begins box draft. There's only 4 evasions you can have,
right? And
that's split up among the table. And there's only 4 Art of Wars, and Art of War only saves half the guys. Like even Projectus doesn't really fight against Johnny very well because you get to do the like trick where you end a turn him and he protects himself, and then you get to untap and kill him.
Yep.
So Johnny is way up the list of cards. I think it's really good. I think that for drafts specifically, Crazy Joe's Explosive is extremely good because the reason that card.
And that'd be an ultra rare.
Yes, that is definitely an ultra rare.
You heard it here first.
Yep.
Along with everything else.
Yeah, the first spoiler of rarity is that Crazy Joe's is an ultra rare.
Yeah.
And the reason is simply because that site has immense stats, it has immense power level, and its drawback is the CC cost, which, as Jesse just said, there isn't. And
in draft.
in draft. Yeah. So you just get the full upside of that card, and it's great. It's even if you don't get to activate it for whatever reason, it still just trades with whatever combatant kills it because nothing has 8 defense.
Right.
And on top of that, it does a million other things. Other cards that we talked about earlier, the Slod Saboteur is very good in that format. Traditionally in the Battle Begins, Blood Prophet Glory meta of constructed, Vasad is maybe a little less powerful because they don't make the immense numbers of Solarium that are required to turn him on. But when I drafted him, in the very first draft of that I ever did 2 PretsCons ago, I had 3 Saboteurs, and you just crank it right up to 8 right away, and he's just as good as Johnny.
Yeah, you take him to 11 and go, right?
And,
I mean, not 11 Slayer, but just, you
right.
You turn the throttle up on him, and then it is a card that's very hard to deal with in draft just because of the lack of evasions in the builds and the lack of, other direct damage effects and things like that. So,
yeah. And the other cards that are near the top of my list are Centropolis.
Yep.
Again, we talked about how great it is on this stream. It's 2 Solarium Sight. It's a double removal spell. It's great.
Yep.
I don't think anybody would disagree.
Yep.
Great in constructed and great in limited. Ferdinbrake is extremely good.
Yep.
We restricted him for a reason.
Yep.
And
he'll be an ultra rare as well.
Yep. Even more so in draft where he doesn't have a CC cost, just like Crazy Joe's. He's great.
Yep. Yeah, I think I agree with all of those statements, but I think it's also important to not overlook just the power of like a Cloud Falcon. If it comes up, we didn't see him today in these 4 packs, but
he is a common.
Yeah. I mean, the Cloud Falcon is a very powerful 3-drop combatant. As a 3/2 in this format, he just offers a lot of upside. In terms of that, and it goes back to kind of the conversation we had about the Shield of Rothgar too. Like a 2/2 for 2 is really good. So when you kind of put those things together and you start looking at all of the different ways to pick cards, when you get past the initial like big picks and you start looking at some of those middle of the road picks where there maybe the decisions are less clear, definitely obviously low cost sites, we talked about that already. But then easily when you feel like you've got that right number of sites for your deck, that combatant choice becomes so important, because tempo will be very important overall.
Specifically, those little Jotun guys are interesting, I think, because in the old cube meta where you knew the number of copies of everything,
Yep.
you could really tell like who you're fighting with for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the signals, just like what gets past you, what comes back around the table if it's like a 4-man pod.
Mm-hmm.
If you table an Art of War, I mean, I think you should just slam it. And then after that, like if halfway through the draft you have 3 Art of Wars, those picks go way up in value, like the Gray Harriers and the red Condors and the Cloud Falcons and the shields and the swords. Like all those little guys just escalate greatly when you have cards like Art of War and cards like Storm Citadel. And so it's kind of like thinking in reverse of what I was talking about in the random pack draft, where you may not want to commit to a card that's specifically Jotun or specifically Cynthian early in a draft in random packs, so you have no idea what you're going to pick up on the way.
Right.
But in the format where you know how many copies of stuff there are, it's really easy to know, like, if you're the only Jotun drafter, which honestly happens a lot because people really like Cynthian cards.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously Centropolis is great, Masterminding is great, but the Jotun cards, they come late and they have much more synergy with each other than the Cynthian cards do.
Yeah, I can definitely say when my drafting experience has been that at times where, when you get past the first pack pick and you start looking at some of those cards that come around to the table, all of a sudden you're going, well, I picked up like 2 extra Gray Harriers and I picked up like a Cloud Falcon. Boy, my first pack pick really almost starts being dictated by that at some level too, where you start going, well, shoot, I guess I better just take this Art of War. Like that seems like the right pick here over. And I know we talked a lot about like spoils and masterminding, always picking those up. I have passed mastermindings before for like a second Art of War or a third Art of War.
Well, I don't know if I can condone.
Well,
that.
I know, but I'm just saying.
But your point is very valid.
Yeah.
It's the value of those cards that are team specific is greatly affected by your current pool.
That's right.
Like what you think the people around you are drafting.
That's right. So if you're just joining in, we just finished up cracking open the full art booster packs. Want to welcome you. This is Battle for Sularia. We definitely are excited to see this product come to market over the next few months. We will have much more coverage regarding these packs and a lot more information going on. You might even see a promotion or two where you can get your hands on some free packs. That's something that you'll see coming over the next few months. And we definitely want to hear about your drafting. Did you agree with the picks we made tonight? Would you have picked something different? You can leave comments in the chat or the comments section of the YouTube video after this is over. We do monitor those even after the stream ends. And I think for now, guys, I think we managed to successfully break open some packs of Sularia tonight, which is pretty awesome. I mean,
first time ever.
First time ever. It's
and they look great.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, I keep staring at these, going, boy, how is this that
and the backs turned out well too.
Yeah, which is, and I do want to add one final thing, because we've had a number of users, after we made erratas to cards last year, asking, how do I get new copies of cards with the correct construction costs? And we didn't pull the other card that received an errata to construction costs tonight, but we did pull the Centropolis. And I want to just point out that on Centropolis, if you notice on the bottom of the card, it is indeed a 2 construction cost card. So if you were looking for how to update your deck list to make sure that the cards that you have in your deck have 2 CC on it, or 3 CC in the case of Verker, these packs will have that. So anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up the stream for the night?
Hi, Mom.
I don't know if she's watching.
Probably not.
Just let us know what you think. Like every week, we'll sign off telling you, just if there's something you want to see on the stream, let us know in the Facebook community, in the comments of this video. Hit us up on Twitter or the Slack channel. If you want to play when we're on Tabletop Simulator, please let us know. We would love to invite you to do so. And get excited for these, man.
I'm excited for them. So I hope everybody else feels the same excitement we feel for it. But yeah, as Neil said, all those things are very important to us. If you like this video or you like any of the videos we've done, just hit that thumbs up button. It tells us, you don't have to leave a comment. It just tells us that, hey, we're doing a good job. This is the content that you want to see about this game. It's super awesome if you subscribe to our channel. Like, that's 100%. Like, we can't thank you enough for doing that. And if you want to be notified every time we go live, just hit that little bell icon. You'll get an update on your phone or on your computer that's telling you we're going live. And then finally, above all things, thanks for being players of our game. We appreciate that. Until next week on Tuesday night, we'll see you guys later.
Good night, everyone.